Hey Cowboys Nation! It's time to dive deep into the realities of this season and take a hard look at where the team stands, particularly on the defensive side. There has been no shortage of frustration, questions, and uncertainty surrounding the squad, and it all seems to circle back to one critical point: defensive performance, week after week. The Cowboys' defense has struggled to meet expectations, leaving fans, analysts, and even players questioning how this unit can be turned around. The numbers do not lie. And when you break down the points allowed, efficiency ratings, and situational performance, the conclusion is inescapable. The defense has underperformed in ways that have serious implications for the team's overall identity. It is not a matter of opinion or preference. The evidence is clear, and the urgency cannot be understated. Time and again, the unit has failed to create pressure at key moments, allowed big plays in critical situations, and consistently left the team vulnerable when it matters most. This is more than a pattern, it is a systemic issue that cannot be ignored. The spotlight naturally falls on leadership, particularly the defensive coordinator, whose role is pivotal in shaping schemes, guiding players, and adjusting strategies during games. The debate over whether to retain this figure has intensified as the season has progressed, and with good reason. Leadership at this level is responsible for designing schemes that can adapt to opponents, ensuring players are prepared for high-pressure moments, and establishing accountability throughout the unit. When all of these elements fail simultaneously, it speaks to a deeper problem than individual mistakes on the field. Fans have watched with growing impatience as defensive breakdowns have repeatedly defined games. From blown coverages to missed tackles and slow adjustments to dynamic offenses, the frustration is tangible, and the demand for clarity and decisive action has never been higher. Beyond raw statistics, the way this situation is managed sends a message about organizational priorities. The Cowboys have emphasized a methodical process, interviewing staff, evaluating performance, and reviewing options. While a careful approach can be valuable, there is a fine line between due diligence and unnecessary delay. Fans are left wondering why the process seems so prolonged when the results are evident. Week after week, other teams in the league often respond quickly to clear deficiencies, replacing staff and making adjustments to prevent continued failure. Hesitation in Dallas risks communicating tolerance for mediocrity and undermining confidence not only within the team but across the fan base. The balance between careful evaluation and timely action is delicate, yet essential for maintaining both credibility and momentum heading into the off-season. Looking closely at the defensive metrics paints a stark picture. From third down efficiency to red zone defense, the Cowboys rank near the bottom of the league in almost every category. Opponents have moved the ball with alarming consistency, scoring with ease and exploiting mismatches that should have been addressed long before they became game-altering plays. Advanced analytics, like expected points added per play, reinforce what fans have seen on the field. The defensive schemes have failed to protect the team in crucial situations. This goes beyond individual performance. It reflects preparation, communication, adaptability, and the ability or inability of leadership to make necessary in-game adjustments. A season of repeated shortcomings points to systemic issues rather than isolated errors. And that responsibility sits heavily on the coaching staff, particularly at the coordinator level. The broader context of these struggles extends into culture, psychology, and confidence. Players need leaders they can trust, strategies that are clear, and a framework where accountability is non-negotiable. When a unit consistently underperforms, morale suffers, communication breaks down, and cohesion diminishes. Leadership changes can bring immediate impact, reinvigorating a group through renewed focus on fundamentals, clarity of assignments, and a culture that refuses to accept mediocrity. Without decisive action, stagnation threatens to erode confidence further, and the ripple effects touch every aspect of the roster. Offensive players are pressured to compensate, special teams are forced into high-risk scenarios, and the perception of the team as a whole is affected. This is not just a numbers issue. It is a question of identity, culture, and the message sent to every member of the organization. The process of evaluating defensive leadership also intersects with strategic considerations for the future. Decisions made now impact draft strategy, free agent acquisitions, and the alignment of coaching philosophy with player development. Coordinators influence the type of talent brought in, the schemes employed, and the long-term trajectory of the team. Uncertainty or indecision hampers these processes, limiting the team's ability to plan effectively for the next season and beyond. Fans and analysts alike recognize that decisive moves and leadership roles are not only about immediate results, they are about laying the foundation for sustainable competitiveness. Every day that passes without clarity increases frustration, fuels speculation, and risks signaling that mediocrity is acceptable. Moreover, this situation emphasizes the importance of accountability and the consequences of failure in a franchise as visible and scrutinized as the Dallas Cowboys. Every decision is examined through a national lens. From staffing choices to game outcomes, when a defensive unit fails, it becomes a public issue, influencing perception, trust, and organizational credibility. A swift, thoughtful decision regarding leadership sends a powerful message that accountability is valued, excellence is expected, and shortcomings will not be tolerated. Conversely, prolonged hesitation or excessive process can suggest misaligned priorities, risk aversion, or lack of urgency. In professional sports, perception and culture are inseparable from tangible performance, and the way this defensive situation is handled will shape the narrative of Cowboys football. For the foreseeable future, off the field, player morale and confidence are inextricably tied to leadership clarity. When defensive coaching isn't effective, players question assignments, schemes, and preparation. This lack of trust undermines execution, intensity, and cohesion. Effective, decisive leadership restores confidence, instills focus, and drives accountability. Every practice, meeting, and adjustment becomes an opportunity to improve rather than a reminder of repeated failures. Leadership changes at the coordinator level can serve as a reset, signaling a commitment to excellence that resonates throughout the locker room. The clock is ticking, and the decisions made now will shape the trajectory of the team, both immediately and in the long term. Defensive performance this season has exposed vulnerabilities, and the responsibility for correction rests squarely with those guiding the unit. Fans, players, and the organization itself have all experienced the consequences of stagnation, and the path forward requires decisiveness, clarity, and strategic thinking. The choices regarding coaching leadership will impact draft priorities, off-season planning, and the overall identity of the Cowboys in the next season. Timing and judgment are equally critical. Delays can limit options, complicate roster moves, and send a message that underperformance is tolerable. This is a pivotal moment, and the organization's response will define not only the future of the defense but the culture and expectations of the franchise as a whole. As the conversation surrounding the Cowboys' defense continues to unfold, the urgency of decisive action becomes increasingly apparent. Each game this season has highlighted the gaps in preparation, strategy, and execution, and the impact of those failures extends far beyond the numbers on a stat sheet. Fans have witnessed repeated lapses in coverage, missed assignments, and an inability to adjust to in-game situations. These breakdowns are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of deeper structural problems that demand attention. Leadership at the coordinator level is central to correcting these issues, and the question now is not whether action should be taken, but how swiftly it will occur. Prolonged deliberation may signal caution, but it also risks conveying complacency in a situation where urgency is paramount. The consequences of indecision ripple through every layer of the team. Offensive players face increased pressure as drives extend longer due to defensive inefficiency. Quarterbacks encounter more frequent high-pressure situations, and running backs are tasked with carrying heavier workloads to compensate for defensive lapses. Special teams are drawn into scenarios that expose vulnerabilities, and the overall cohesion of the squad suffers as a result. Football is inherently a team sport, yet leadership defines the framework within which the team operates. When defensive leadership is inadequate, every unit feels the strain, and the ability to compete at a high level becomes compromised. Fans are keenly aware of this dynamic, recognizing that the defense's struggles are not merely statistical, they are deeply intertwined with the team's culture and identity. The debate over potential replacements for the defensive coordinator has grown louder, with speculation running rampant among supporters and analysts. While it is natural for discussions to center on names and possibilities, the underlying issue is much larger. The need for accountability, competence, and a renewed strategic vision. Leadership decisions at this level influence scheme design, player assignments, and in-game adjustments, and any delay in addressing deficiencies threatens both short-term performance and long-term planning. The offseason provides a limited window to make meaningful changes, align philosophies, and position the team for success. Waiting too long risks missing opportunities to bring in coaches capable of immediately improving the unit. while also shaping the roster in a way that maximizes defensive potential. The stakes are high, and fans, players, and the organization all recognize that decisive leadership is required. From a cultural standpoint, effective leadership communicates more than tactics. It sets standards and expectations. Players respond to clarity, direction, and accountability. And the absence of these elements can erode confidence and undermine morale. Leadership changes at the coordinator level offer the chance to reset the tone of the team, emphasizing fundamentals, preparation, and discipline. A clear message that underperformance will not be tolerated can revitalize a group that has struggled and instill a renewed sense of purpose. Conversely, hesitation or extended decision-making risks perpetuating a culture of mediocrity, signaling to players and fans alike that failure can be tolerated. The impact on morale, cohesion, and performance cannot be overstated, making timely action not just important, but critical. Strategically, the defensive coordinator's role is central to nearly every aspect of off-season planning. Coaches at this level influence player acquisition decisions, draft strategies, and free agent priorities. They shape defensive philosophy, align talent with schemes, and ensure that preparation translates into consistent execution on game day. Without clarity and leadership, these processes are compromised. The longer uncertainty persists, the more difficult it becomes to implement plans that position the team for immediate improvement. A decisive move to replace or reaffirm leadership provides the clarity needed to execute a coherent strategy, align the roster, and begin addressing the weaknesses that have defined the season. Time is of the essence, and the Cowboys' window to act effectively is limited by both competitive and logistical factors. The pressure on leadership extends beyond the X's and O's on the field. Fans, analysts, and even players are scrutinizing every move, every statement, and every indication from the front office. The way this situation is handled will set a precedent for organizational culture, demonstrating whether accountability and performance are prioritized or if optics and process take precedence over results. In professional sports, perception and action are intertwined, and the decisions regarding defensive leadership will reverberate throughout the organization. Effective leadership can restore confidence, improve performance, and send a message that excellence is non-negotiable. Conversely, delay or indecision risks diminishing credibility and perpetuating the frustrations that have accumulated over the course of a disappointing season. The implications of inaction are clear when examining the broader context of team identity. The Cowboys are one of the most recognizable and scrutinized franchises in professional sports, and every failure is magnified in the public eye. Defensive struggles not only affect the outcome of games, but they shape the narrative of the organization itself. Each lapse in coverage, missed assignment, or blown play contributes to a perception of mismanagement and inefficiency. Leadership has the power to change that narrative by demonstrating accountability, enforcing standards, and prioritizing results. A swift, deliberate, and effective decision regarding the coordinator role could reshape the conversation, signaling a commitment to excellence and a refusal to accept mediocrity. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. Whispers began circulating around the league when Dak Prescott was spotted arriving with a visible bruise on his face, an image that immediately ignited speculation and discomfort inside and outside the Cowboys' facilities. Official explanations were vague, and that silence only fueled the perception that something deeper is unraveling in Dallas. Sources close to the locker room describe a tense atmosphere, where frustration has been building and finally spilled over in a way no one expected from the team's most recognizable leader. According to these rumors, Prescott did not simply brush off the questions. Instead, he reportedly exploded behind closed doors, venting anger at the organization, the pressure, and what he perceives as a lack of protection both physically on the field and institutionally off it. The word being whispered is cowardice, not as a label placed on Prescott, but as a feeling he allegedly expressed toward the situation around him. Some claim he feels exposed, left to absorb criticism and hits, while broader issues remain unaddressed. Inside the Cowboys, this moment is being framed by insiders as a symbol of a growing crisis. Leadership, once seen as the team's anchor, now appears strained. Teammates are said to be divided between those who sympathize with Prescott's emotional outburst and those who fear it signals a fracture at the core of the roster. Coaches, meanwhile, are rumored to be walking a delicate line, attempting to calm tensions without publicly acknowledging how serious the internal unrest may be. The bruise itself has become almost secondary, a visual metaphor for a franchise that looks battered and uncertain. Analysts speculate that this incident could mark a turning point, either galvanizing the Cowboys or pushing them further into instability. For now, nothing is confirmed and official channels remain quiet. But in the world of professional football, silence often speaks louder than statements. And the image of Dak Prescott arriving marked and visibly angry has already left a lasting impression, one that suggests the Cowboys' problems may go far beyond what fans see on the surface. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.